Graeme Carling, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yeah, doing very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
I've been following your content on LinkedIn, on social media for a while, and you seem to be here, there, and everywhere. Dubai, Portugal, today, Dundee.
Yep.
Some people must think, Graeme, what
Yeah.
do you do? So when people ask you
Yeah.
that question, how do you bring it to life?
What do I do? I travel a lot, that's for sure. Certainly the last few years, and this year in particular, we've done a huge amount of traveling. Our business is, actually, it's my 50th birthday year this year. So we've been traveling for a lot of personal stuff. But as our businesses have grown, we're doing business, internationally now. So we've quite a bit in the US, Europe, and in the Middle East and the GCC region where I'm based at the moment in Dubai.
Life wasn't always like that, Graeme. You didn't
Yeah.
grow up traveling the world. Where did it all begin?
Well, funnily enough, as you said there, we're in Dundee this week, and that's where it began. That's where it began for me. I was born and bred pretty much in Dundee. Went to born on a housing scheme. My family were all basically lived within a 2 or 3 mile radius of each other, which wasn't difficult in Dundee. Born there, born into we originally started in the Cleppington Road, then moved up to the Ardler Milties, which are no longer there. They were knocked down a few years ago, and most of my family lived within a 3 mile radius. So your world was a very small world and a very small environment. And but I had a great childhood. I had a really fantastic time there, and didn't know any better. I didn't know that we didn't have much. You know what I mean? Because I was always dead happy as a very youngster, and it's only when you start growing up, you start to realise that actually, the grass might be greener, or the world could look differently.
In a council estate in Dundee, what did inspiration and aspiration mean? Did it mean multi-business entrepreneur, or did it mean just a job?
It meant surviving week to week. That's what it meant. I didn't know anybody that wasn't. Again, we didn't know we were skint or poor, but money was always a problem. Didn't matter. My dad had a decent job. He'd worked his way up. He was a labourer, a general labourer. Then he became he was on a demolition, working for construction businesses. Then he kind of got a management position. So he was always kind of a wee bit better off than like some of my mates' dads. So I always thought a wee bit of that. I was a wee bit, we had a wee bit more.
You're a posh old Graeme. Is that
Yeah, I
what
was
you're telling
posh.
me?
Yeah, we were posher but poor. We were poor posh. No, we did. We had, we were. The inspiration was that you got through to the end of the week, at the end of the month, still having food, being able to travel and do the things that you had to do, the basics, the essentials, the necessities. But there was no anything else. It was survival, and that's how it was for probably nearly everybody that I knew.
I look at a lot of popular social media narratives now, or LinkedIn narratives around just quit the 9 to 5 and go all in your side hustle, the podcast you might have, the crocheting business you might have, or any of those entrepreneurial desires that you might have. And for many people from a council estate, that cannot be the case because, like you said, they have these hygiene factors that they have to look after. Is there food on the table? Is there a shelter over my head? Are my mum and dad and my family and my siblings, are they safe?
Yeah.
And I think that narrative is quite toxic to that group of people. And it's not instantly accessible. However, people might think or look at your story and think, well, you started in property. That must be, you must have afforded a large property development or had a lot of capital to invest. But during the financial crash, you didn't. You had really savvy techniques to enter that market. So can you tell me how you managed to enter that market just after being an apprentice joiner?
Well, we're going from one extreme to the other here. That was growing up in a council estate. When I was, I left school 15, 16. I became an apprentice joiner because that's what you done. I was on a youth training scheme, YTS, £29.50 a week, still delivering milk on my uncle's milk van in the mornings because, and that wasn't enough money. I was full time on a YTS, so I was up at 4 delivering milk, and then going to my YTS job. And I had a McDonald's job on a Saturday. By the way, the first McDonald's in Scotland was in Dundee in Reform Street, and I managed to get a job there when I was still 15. So that's what it was. You know, we were encouraged from very young age to work. We never had any money. There was no capital or money or investing or wealth ever at any time in my family or anybody I even knew. It was hand to mouth. Some people had done a wee bit better, and I think maybe one or two of my cousins possibly even went to university, but they would have been younger cousins. That certainly was nothing that was before me. People left the school because we had no money. We had to work. We had to go and earn money. We certainly didn't have any capital. I mean, what was that? What is that? What was that? So that was 15, 16. You know, in 2007, in the property market crash, so I was 33. I mean, we're talking from, 15, 16 apprentice to the market crash. I was 30. That was many, many years later. And I still didn't have any capital, by the way, because I'd started a couple of businesses in the early 2000s that had failed. I had to go back. I was skint, ego-dented, pride bruised, just really a low ebb. Really, I had to go back to mainstream employment, which I was pretty good at. I enjoyed working. I enjoyed the hustle. I enjoyed that. But I did not ever see the corporate world as being it wasn't for me long term, because it was never going to get me my dreams. It just didn't make any sense to me. When my dad, the more he worked his way through the ranks in the private sector, in the corporate world, he never had any more money. He just had earned more, but his costs went up. Didn't like it. So still technically skint. Now to the person, in the gutter that's not earning anything, it doesn't look skint, but the principles are the same. There was no more disposable income. There was no investing money. There was nothing to take us to the next level. So the only way for me to do that was to I always had my arse was twitching, to start my own business, but didn't know how to go about it. Had no clue and had no role model, certainly within my family, before me that could show me the way or give me a helping hand or give me a leg up or give me some money to get started there. None of that happened. So to answer your question, the property market crash, when we started, I had been back in mainstream employment in a job. I just over broke. I'd been in that for nearly 5 years. And I'd been researching. I'd done a lot of reading. I was so inept. I had zero financial education. And that was the big thing that was my biggest failure in the businesses that I'd started in the early 2000s. I had no clue. I really had not a clue. I was prepared to work hard, dedicate myself to it, commit myself to it, go all in. But I had no idea, like most people. But I knew I had to do something. My dad all these days hated what he'd done, but done well at it from where he came from. But we'd never take the chance or the opportunity or go for it in terms of starting his own business or buying a business or anything, because he had 3 kids. Mm-hmm. So he had responsibilities, he had to put food on the table, the lighting, heating on, all of that stuff. So that was an absolute closed mindset. But that was never going to get any better his whole life. So my view on it was, I have to escape that. I've got to do something different to what my dad's done, my family's done before me, or this is how it's always going to be. This cycle will just continue forever. Somebody's got to break the cycle. Now, I knew it could be me, but I didn't know how to go about it. Anyway, so from 2002 to 2007, I learned as much as I could about finance, raising money, taxes, other people's money, other people's time, leverage, because we had nothing. We had zero. So I had to leverage or try and, to attract and wait for and my chosen sort of, because everybody said it was property, you'll never lose, make a fortune in property. And people just come out with shit like that. They just make stuff up because they heard it and that's what's going to happen. Now, for me, I just believed that. And for a few years, then when the property market started to crash, 2007-8, for the first time, and I was ready for it, there was value in the market. and you were still able to, at that time, just for about a period, maybe a year, from the end of 2007 to the real crash in October 2008, there was a great time for raising fund. You could still raise 100% of the funds. Pretty, not easy, but it was still doable during that period of time. So the circumstances, and I was ready for it by this time, to go into the property market with zero capital. What we had to go and raise that money, all of it, in order to get us in the game to start building my portfolio. We didn't have any big bucket of capital. I've read some things on the internet and that, and it's hilarious. You know, we had some big private equity venture fund that backed us and doing stuff like that. Oh, if only, if only we'd have been a lot more ahead of where we are today. So we were able to fund it, and I can talk you through that. But we started it. It was terrifying because I quit my job. I didn't do any side hustle because if the time was right and I had this right, we had to go for it. See, me and my wife, we had to go for it and go all in. I'm not into side hustles. I think that just is a nonsense. You know what I mean? Side hustle, what you hedging? You're either in it or you're not in it. And I've not seen many side hustles that have been long-term successful. You're either in it or not.
A piece of advice I got from a previous guest was you should only use a side hustle to make it your main hustle.
Yeah.
Or to figure out whether it's going to be the main hustle or not. I want to talk about your financial acumen and your financial literacy. Like you said, grew up working on the tools, multiple part-time jobs in hospitality. You didn't have this financial literacy.
No.
But then you came across an interview with Oprah, with Robert Kiyosaki, which seemed to have changed your life.
Yeah.
And it's another reason this podcast exists is to provide information and digital role models. It seems like he became somewhat a digital role model to you when you watched that. And his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, had a huge effect on you.
It really did. It really did. Like I said, I didn't have any role models. I had 3 failed businesses, had to go back to work, skint, all of that stuff. And it was only when I was going back to work I caught this. I went and ordered the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, read it, and it was the light bulb moment. It was such a simple book, and it answered so many questions for me. And the main question was, I don't know anything about finances. I have never in my life, by anybody, been taught anything about financial education. I had nothing. So it was, oh man, therein lies. So even when people out the goodness of their heart were trying to give me advice, they weren't financially educated. So they're doing it because they love me, it's my dad, or, it's people that want me to do well. But the advice simply wasn't right. It was because they didn't have that education either. So the Rich Dad Poor Dad book was so simple and just made complete sense. Having just done what I'd done and the business is failing, I had no clue about, leverage, let's say, raising money, taxes, keeping money, protect your assets. None of that stuff was taught to me at any point in my life up until that point. You think you've got an idea and it's work hard, go for it, head down, you'll get there. That certainly didn't work for me.
Are there any universal principles that you still hold on to from that book?
A lot of them. I mean, we've evolved since that, but in relation to cash flow, so assets, what's an asset and what's a liability? We can analyze deals now very easily. Does it cash flow? How can it cash flow rather than gambling? Is it a capital gain? So the difference between a capital gain and cash flow, very important. When you're particularly in the property business or any asset business, what's your plan? What is it you're looking for? So in terms of what is really an asset? An asset is something that puts money in your pocket whether you're working or not. So it's an asset. It's bringing income into you, or is it a liability? So most people think that their house, their own home, is an asset, when in actual fact it's costing you money on a mortgage every month. So that's taking money from your pocket. Yes, you hope that at some point in time the capital may increase or you get some value out at the end. But at this moment in time, don't kid yourself on if it's taking money from your pocket. So there are very fundamental principles, Rich Dad or Kiyosaki principles, that will never leave me. because they're right. They're true, and they're simple.
Why don't you think financial literacy is taught in schools?
It's deliberate. Why would they? You know, the system is designed for the, if you like, uber rich or the 1% or the haves. And they would, you know what, it's to keep people at a certain level and keep them in their place, to come through the school system, to go and work for these people. So it's designed, it's the system, it's designed, if you ask me.
Tell me the transformation after your first property. How did the business expand after that?
Well, I mean, it took us a while. What we done was, once we got the first deal over the line, which was a property up in Aberdeenshire, just outside, and it was terrifying. We had to quit our job again. We went all in. Absolutely, you know, really. I remember my dad going, Aberdeen, that's miles away. Why would you go to Aberdeen? That was the right deal that came up at that time. And that was a cracker. What we were able to refinance it. So how we financed it, funded it was the property was a couple that were separating. They wanted to sell the property. The woman she'd already moved out. The guy was worked on the oil rigs. He didn't want to put it on the open market, and he wanted to rent the property back. So it was a sale and rent back deal we done in 2007. So what we done was, they just wanted rid of it. But that was great because we had an immediate tenant. Didn't go in the open market, so there was no bidding war, or we weren't up against anybody. And so what we were able to do was, we borrowed the money. We got a bridging loan in the morning, but had already lined up a refinance for the same day. You were able to do that at the time. And so we bought it for, I can't remember, 160,000, 170,000, maybe all in it cost us. But we were able to same day remortgage it. So we borrowed 170,000 in the morning. But we were able to set up an 80% remortgage on the value at 230, I think it was 235. So we got about 200,000 out on the remortgage the same day. So what happened was, we bought the property, we remortgaged it, we repaid the bridging loan, we paid our fees and the broker fees and legal fees and survey fees and all that stuff, and we still had £20,000 that we managed to keep, and and an immediate tenant that was in that property from day one. So that £20,000 gave us some capital and equity, and that then allowed us to then crack on, and we were able to do quite a few of those deals in the first year, and that money raised. So we done it with no money because we had none. We had zero money, but we had the mindset that had taken me a while, mind, from 2002 to 2007. But the circumstances were right, and if I really understood what I'd learned, the timing was perfect. Everybody was getting out of the property business. It's time to get in, and I wish we'd had some more of that easy kind of money. You know what I mean? Because obviously the market crashed and things became a bit more difficult.
How addictive was closing that first deal? I can imagine you came to the realization that you don't get rich renting out your time. Even surgeons, even top professionals don't get that sort of payout in a single day.
Yeah.
What did you learn about deal making at that moment in time?
Well, there's deals everywhere, right? And I talk about this now. You know, once you got that, you go, whoa, that really works. That really, really happens. So we just were so focused on getting the next deals and the next deals and repeat. So the focus was, we doubled down on this. This is just, everybody's getting out. Everywhere you've seen, properties were, underwater, equity, bank street possession. There was just chaos kind of in the market. At the market crash, there was real motivated sellers. So for us, our focus was simply on getting as many of these deals done as we possibly can. We really didn't think too far about it. We just wanted to, right, okay, this works. Let's keep going.
How did your mindset change? I often hear you say about not containing yourself to a label or a box. Once you did your first deal, did you have this more expansive mindset of what was possible for your property company?
Yeah, I think, look, we thought it would take us 2 or 3 years to become financially free. When we say financially free, that means that the income generated from the properties or their investments it was more than our salary when we quit our jobs. Because we quit our jobs on the same day, my wife and I.
What were you working as at the time?
I was a general manager for a food distribution company. My wife worked for the same company. So we both left at exactly the same day at the end of October. That was terrifying. My wife was pregnant. We'd bought a house. That I think we had just moved in it. So there was and I was on a good salary. Yeah, like my dad, doing okay, done well in the corporate world. Still had no money at the end of the month. Still skint. So we didn't have any capital. We had saved up £20,000 over a period of time. By the way, most of it was my wife's money that she'd saved up the most of it. But that only allowed us to live for 6 months until we done the deal. That wasn't for capital for investing. That was just that'll get us by. And if we didn't get any deals, we're going to have to go back to work again and mainstream employment again. So, and that was terrifying. So we had to get the deals. We were really up against it. But if the timing was right, we but it was still having to go and get the deals in. So that was the focus.
Graeme, say one of the listeners are thinking, that sounds really nice. I'm in mainstream employment. I want to do what Graeme's done. In today's market, I don't have that level of capital. I don't have those savings. What would you recommend for them? Would you say save and invest, create yourself a nest egg for a bit, and then go all in? Or would you say find a new expansive market that's trending right now and there's loads of market opportunity? What would your advice be to a current listener based on the current conditions of the market?
Well, first of all, how good is your financial education? Because without financial education, it doesn't matter how much money you've got, how many side hustles you're going to do, it will likely end in failure. You have to get yourself to a level of understanding of finances, debt, tax, other people's money, other people's time. You have to have a certain level. I did not have that. So I would tell anybody, first of all, go and read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, first of all. Then if you like and you understand it, buy the rest of it. Don't take it from me. They're way better educators or teachers than me. I can do business and tell people what to do in business. But if they don't have the right context to start with, which is what I don't have, I didn't have. And this was the big thing for me. When I speak to people now, people come and ask me, what should I do? Can I do this? I've got a bit of capital. I've got a bit of money. I've just sold my business. I've done this. I call these guys assholes. Because they'll come. We'll say to them, well, this is what I do. Then they'll go and just do the absolute opposite and wonder why they lost their money. And wonder wonder why they're not getting any deals or they're not doing anything. So I say, well, because their context, their financial context, we don't get that at school. You've got to go out there and really understand. You don't need to be an expert at it, but you have to understand the basics of how finance works. And, whether you're a cash flow investor, a capital gains, both. And these things are very simple. So before you go and do anything, side hustles or anything, you have to have a certain level of financial acumen. And that doesn't mean it need to be complicated.
It doesn't have to be a chartered accountancy
There's
qualification.
nothing like that. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad book is the simplest, most, it's almost idiotic. And it's been, I think it was 1983 he wrote it. And it's still exactly the same today. It's still exactly the same. So, you have to get that first before you go jumping in, money or no money, because without it, it's very, very difficult. You might be lucky, but I think it'd be very difficult.
I want to ask you about this term, financial freedom. I can imagine its definition is different depending on context and the person. Some people can earn and grow a business to the point whereby they could be financially free, but they're never financially free because they're addicted to the next goalpost, or they're, like you said, their living expenses creep up. They want to lease the car, holiday home, that kind of stuff. How do you put financially free into context, or how do you define financial freedom?
Financial freedom, when we were starting out, we thought it was simply you had an element of money that was greater than your expenses. So your income for your investments, and this is how it's put to you, by the way, and there's so many gurus out there now, they terrify the life out of me, these guys. The financial freedom is that you have your income is greater than your expenses, whether you work or not. That's the kind of traditional definition of financial freedom.
Is that passive income?
That's passive income. So passive income coming in. You could have a job or something like that, but passive income. But really, financially free is you have more income coming in than expenses without working, generally. But even that to me is an absolute fugazi, because we've been that. You watch, just because you're financially free or it's passive does not mean it's permanent. So as soon as you take your eye off the ball, and people sell people investments or these courses and all this stuff that you become, your passive income, passive income. Passive income is, again, with the benefit of experience and hindsight now, because we believed that at the start. So we've learned it kind of the hard way. Passive income is not permanent. And passive income is the lowest form of income. Now, we thought that when we became financially free, we would just go live, lie on the beach in Spain, drinking cocktails all day, on the laptop, life's beautiful, nothing to worry about. The money will just come in and that's our expenses. Never going to be uber rich or wealthy. But that's not how we set out at the start. Our goals and ambitions are, miles away from what they were at the start. They were just dead simple. We just wanted to tell our boss to shove his job and we're going to work for ourselves and we're going to earn enough money that would cover our salaries. It was that simple at the start. Now, we're looking at £1 billion revenue businesses and value. I mean, we're 20 years in nearly though. We've been doing this a long time now. So, and that would, again, never in my wildest dreams would we think we would be in this position ever. We just needed a couple of grand a month. That was it. That's all we needed at the start. But you've got to start there. Then what happens is your goals then just evolve over time. So then they just get better, because once you get a bit of success and once you, the blinkers come off, then they come off, then they just get wider. Then you've had a few hits, you take a few, a few sore ones, and it didn't kill you. So you recover from it. You well, actually, that didn't kill me, so that wasn't that bad. We could, we go again.
I see you hanging around with so many business moguls, John Cauldwell to Duncan Bannatyne.
Mm-hmm.
As a lad from Dundee, when you sit in these rooms with people that have maybe walked the similar path a few years before you, do you ever feel like an imposter or some sort of inferiority complex with this podcast, getting to interview people like you, billionaires, celebrities? I always feel like the student in the room. I feel a bit inferior. I notice their presence, and it makes me want to adapt and mold to be similar status to them to some degree. Did you ever feel yourself in those moments in your journey feeling a sense of imposter syndrome or inferiority? Absolutely.
I remember back early on, we used to go across to Robert Kiyosaki's seminars in Scottsdale, Arizona. Yeah. We went across 3 or 4 times a year, and we never had the money to go. We were having to go and stay in the cheap hotels, get the cheap flight, maybe do a couple of connections to get there. But we always went, and what we used to do, and there'd be, maybe 500 people at these seminars, and every one of them from all over the world would fly in. By the way, I loved them. I was nothing better than going across, landing at Phoenix Airport, didn't matter how long it took you to get there, and getting ready for a 3-day seminar where you knew you were in at 8 in the morning, finished at midnight, had homework, because I love learning. I loved it. It was so alien and new to me, and I was in an environment where it was just, magical, or because it was like finding, fire. You know what I mean? It's like, nobody's telling us about these things.
That doesn't exist in Dundee, does it?
No. So, but we had to go and find that. It's even easier now because, at the time, back in 2007, the internet wasn't advanced. There was a Rich Dad website and all that stuff. But now, everything's,
you can listen to a podcast and get that same feeling.
Same thing. So going there, then I remember that we'd go back and I said, well, we have to have bought, we've not even bought a property yet. Then we bought one. Then we'd bought a couple. We're going, we can't go back in 3 months. Look at all these people. Look at them. They're miles ahead of us. That's Robert Kiyosaki. That's, all these guys that have got thousands of, multi-family homes. They're bringing the real estate. And we've maybe got a couple of properties. So so we really felt like an imposter. And what we done though, we used that as an inspiration though. And I was like shitting myself, because what you'll do is you'll easily pull you on stage. You're speaking Scottish in front of all these American people. Worse, speaking Dundonian, which is even worse than normal Scottish, So pull you up on stage and say, okay, what is it you do? What do you have? What do you got? And if he pulls me up here and we've only got 1 or 2 properties. But what we done was We flipped that. And we made it was a motivator to us. But by the time we got back to the next seminar, we had to have had significantly more properties done. And one of the things that we learned over the years was that was us. I mean, really, we were on heckle pins with it. It was, but it was a real inspiration, a motivator to get us to keep going. And when we got there, and over years, what we found is, an actual fact, of all the people that we'd been going there from all over the world for a number of years, we were ahead of them. So they weren't doing. They were going, same lessons as us, better. They were had money, some of these people, wealthy Europeans, wealthy Americans going. But again, sitting on the sidelines waiting, it's a property market crash, a financial crash. They're getting the same education as us, but not taking any action. So over years, a number of these people fell by the wayside as we continue to grow and stay focused. And I think, we're friends with Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. We've been in their house. They've been at our house in Scotland. And that was a proud moment for me when we took them up to our house in Scotland, and he was looking at some of the real estate deals that we were looking at in Dundee, and some of the worst places as well. And he was there, and he was so proud, because in actual fact, but I was proud because we came from nothing. I took him to when Leanne and I met. I was staying in my grand's rented house just off the hill town, one of the most deprived areas in Scotland at the time. And I showed him when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I lived here. Then we moved to there. Wow. Now we live here, and we done it through education and turning up and showing up and taking action at it. And we dust ourselves down, working hard, but it was never about the money. We didn't have any money. It was never the capital part of it. Is where people get stuck, and we never had any money, so we didn't know it. We never knew any other way. We had to go and figure it out. And so I think, imposter syndrome, definitely for that, definitely. Even now, when we're going with even bigger people, at the start, you kind of feel, whoa, I don't, particularly if you don't know these guys, like I'm not worthy type of things. But I think we shouldn't get over that, because there's not been a single person that has done significantly more than us that looks in that they're dead happy and proud that it's only, the naysayers are the ones that are doing nothing. The ones that have been through it all, they're just sitting there. And I think the thing for me is, it's not, you think you've got problems, then you start speaking about them, then you hear their problems in terms of what they've been through. And, yours just paling insignificant. You kind of feel half daft, even mentioning it, because it's a drop in the ocean to the things that these guys have encountered and been through. And that's just how it is.
I almost see it like, I did a little bit of karate growing up, and there's like the belt system from white to yellow, and you only get better by learning the techniques and sparring with the people that are one rung above you. And they're often older, more experienced.
Yep.
And again, they have more problems, metaphorically. They're getting different moves thrown at them, but they grow in terms of their capacity to deal with them.
Yeah.
But you only, as a student, learn about that capacity by entering the fire.
Doing it, yeah.
Yep. And it seems like that's exactly what you did. You entered the fire.
Yeah.
It's better to be good in a big city, metaphorically, than the best in a small town.
Yeah. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree.
So give me a snapshot in time now. How have you expanded that one deal to where you're at now? What is, either qualify or quantify how the business looks now, how your life looks now?
Well, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, it's truly night and day, I think important to point out, we are 16, 17, 18 years down the road now from that first sort of deal that we were looking at. We're a long way from that, and we've been through a lot, and we've evolved over time. And the key point is we just didn't stop. Our goals get bigger. We're an international business now. I love doing business internationally. I love partnering with people and business owners and looking at opportunities everywhere. It's crazy to think the best deals are going to be on your doorstep. However, the flip side to that is, it's crazy not to think you can get a deal on your doorstep, because that's where we started. We built our business, around, first property was in Aberdeen, but, in terms of Angus and Dundee and Tayside and all that, then we go across Scotland, then it was Spain and all of that stuff. So it just evolved over time, but you've just got to get going. Our businesses now, are globally. We're a partnership group. We've got a great team of people work with us, and that never stops. It keeps evolving. But the one thing that we didn't know then, remember, we just needed a couple of £1,000 a month. The goal and aim was no better than that. So hopefully, that's doable. Now, when we're looking at it, your team, your group, we didn't want a laptop lifestyle. We thought that was the goal and the dream and the magic elixir. That was the holy grail, if you like, to get to that position. We got there pretty quickly because, but we had low expenses. We didn't need a lot to start with. But get there quickly, then the world looks different. Things change. Now we love business, not for the sake of just the money, but for the sake of growing and living our life and being the best people that we could be, and traveling the world and doing business internationally. Who'd have thought that? From Ardler Milties.
Incredible. Is it true that you were Scotland's largest private landlord?
Well, so they tell me. So, I mean, we've obviously sold quite a bit over the last few years as the market was good. We retained, quite a bit of real estate holdings still, and we were going to get back into it again in certain areas, in certain countries. So, we're going to continue on that. Well, that was kind of our starting gambit. I must admit, I like the business side far better than the property side. My wife, she looks after the property businesses, so we were kind of clear areas of responsibility. But yeah, we did because as everybody was getting out, we were getting in.
As a boy from Dundee, be honest with me, how have your taste and traits and gifts to yourself changed since you first started? Have you treated yourself like any normal human would have from Dundee?
Look, we travel well. We visit countries we think nothing of. We can be away tomorrow morning to anywhere we want in the world at any time. And we've got that ability to do that with our kids. We take our kids places. We love experiences. We love, we love traveling. We love business. I think, we don't rough it. Put it that way, like we had to. And I think that's probably the best way I like to.
You're not going to Butlins, are you?
No, I'm not going to No, although I did like it the early years ago.
You're set up as a family office. That's a term that not many people hear about. They might think of maybe like the Queen or like really high net worth individuals having family offices, for example. But you don't have to be a celebrity to have a family office. You can be high net worth individual. You can be a Scottish entrepreneur. What does a family office mean?
Well, family offices are getting a lot more popular now. Certainly throughout the world, there has been family offices, some wealthy family offices in Europe and all that for a while now. Family offices become more popular, mainly because we kind of operate like a private equity, but we don't have the rules and restrictions and constraints that private equity companies need to adhere to. So we can be a bit more flexible, nimble. And it's not it doesn't necessarily just need to be our own cash. There can be a group of people's cash that all operate underneath the family office. So there are various in the US, private equity is huge. Clearly, it's huge everywhere. But what you're seeing is a lot more formations of smaller boutique type family offices, where it's a group of wealthy individuals, high net worth individuals that will come in either permanently or on a deal by deal basis that can allow us to be flexible and look at deals differently without the constraints and restrictions of a private equity business.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. A KPMG guy, you'll know all that stuff.
But it's important for me and the listeners. Like, we don't have access to a lot of this information.
No.
So like dispelling it in plain English is so helpful. So thanks for doing that, Graeme.
Okay.
Duncan Bannatyne is someone that you've spent some time with.
Yeah.
I grew up watching him as a somewhat relatable role model on TV on Dragon's Den. I believe he started with like ice cream vans or something like that from Scotland. Grew his health clubs into multi-million-pound businesses. What did you learn from him, and how did that come around?
Hard work, because it's all been hard work. You're right, ice cream vans, care homes. Care homes, when you run out of money, then they they had to get him tenanted, and I think he was pulling his grannies and his aunties and everybody in to, when the banks were or when the funders were showing up or somebody was showing up, he had to make sure that the place was looking busy and full and all that. Or I think it was when he was selling it. I can't remember. It was funding it. Hard work. There is no magic formula to this. You've got to start. You've got to get in the game, and you have to work hard, and it's a team game. You need great people. You want to go and hire the best people that are that possible for the roles that you're looking to do. You have to do that when you're looking to get into big business, small business, and an employee. And how I started out, again, leaving school, had 3 O grades, managed to get a job at YTS, and it was all about me. When you're playing as an entrepreneur or big business, it's always about the we. Who's the we? Because you can't do it on your own. You need great teams of people, advisors, and all that stuff. Again, just learn this over the years of doing it. When you come from nothing, you're trying to get some cheap, you're getting cheap advice and cheap because you have no money, and you're kidding yourself on, or you read something in a book somewhere, that'll do, that'll do. When you're playing bigger business and you're evolving, and enjoy that part of it. We like paying big fees now. I enjoy that. That means I'm playing bigger games. That means the deals I'm doing are bigger. I want to pay that. We want to pay more tax. That means we're making more money. The flip side to everything you believe, many people, okay, is there VAT on that? Or don't pay tax? Or can you pay me cash and all that? I mean, that's just, it's tiny, but that is how, and I get it. Because there's a whole economy based around that. But if you want to break out that cycle, it's just it's a different mindset. It really starts with a mindset, David.
And that makes a lot of sense because I guess the connotations of the word risk, financial risk, business risk, to someone from a lower socioeconomic background, from a council estate, has very different connotations to those who have been in the game or are more wealthy or are more affluent, because risk means greater reward to them. But the semantics of the word risk to people like us starting out is like, oh, we want to avoid that. We want to protect ourselves from that. And those risks can be more tax, VAT, all these little principles and things that you mentioned. But the mindset that you have, that because we have more risk, we have more problems, and because the complexity of those risks and problems have evolved, that's a line in the sand for us to let us know that we're playing bigger games.
Yes, absolutely.
One thing that I think you are very noble about sharing online is your philanthropy. I think John Cauldwell maybe had a bit of an effect on that, the famous Phones for You founder. How important is it to you and your family to give back, and when did you realise that was an importance for you?
I don't like to think that this whole saying, and most people say it, give back. Give back to me kind of gives off the impression that you've taken something. You've taken a ball from your brother when you were away. Your mum tells you, oh, give him it back. Because you've taken something from somebody, or you've taken something. It's always been about just giving. And if you're giving, and listen, and we just believe, karma, the world will look after you. If you're a good person, good things will happen to you. We don't need to give back something because we've been giving long before we ever really had anything. So for us, in terms of the philanthropy, I mean, rich dad, poor dad, you play the cash flow game, 10% every month goes to charity or tithing. It was always part of something. It was just kind of a mindset thing, so that you kind of should. Everybody feels that they should kind of, put something towards a charity, not really thinking it through. So it's always been something we've done. But the more you acquire, the more you earn, and the more that you can give, is it then becomes, where do we give it? How does that work? Where does it go to? Who are we giving the money to? And how is it going to have the best benefit? So there's nothing new to it. What happens is, just as you evolve, kind of the numbers get bigger and where you're looking to give it. But it isn't it's something that you should just do. And because our belief, genuinely, from when we had no money, was that we always gave something. Didn't matter, because that's all we had. on the belief that, look, we're good people. We might need that one day. You never know. But and actually, good things come to people that do good things. And it's just a genuine belief that we've got. I think, though, when you go to various charities to look at where you will look to support, our daughter has type 1 diabetes, so we've been doing a lot with JDRF. I've just changed their name now, which is Junior Diabetes Research Foundation. We've been doing it for a number of years. Then we came across Cauldwell Children, John Cauldwell, and we went down to the centre there, and I get you. When you're looking at these kids and children, and there's been a real niche there. And John, again, we didn't know him, but everything about it is, it's early intervention centre, and they've helped so many people. When you hear the stories and you see it firsthand, woof, it really, really gets you. And I think for us, the beauty of that charity, which is different to some of the other charities that we've worked with or supported in the past, all of the money, all of it that you donate goes to the children. John himself personally covers the full administrative costs of running that. So everybody's salaries, the centre, travel, everything is covered separately by John. So all monies raised through all funding goes to, you can see exactly where it's going, and we get a report every year telling us, what kids, what they've had, what they've done, wheelchairs, all of that stuff. It's it really feels real. It's not like it's just going into the big black hole. We're really making an impact on people's lives, and that's powerful.
Incredible stuff. It
Yeah.
really is. Dan Pena, tell me about your relationship with the $1 trillion man.
Well, it's different then, yeah. I absolutely love that guy. I love him. He's like my surrogate dad, granddad, uncle, whatever you want.
I didn't realise he spent time in Scotland.
He lives in Scotland.
I didn't know that at
He
all.
lives in Scotland. He lives in Guthrie Castle, just outside Forfar. He's lived there for 35 years. Owns the big estate up there. Absolutely love him. He came in again. We were introduced to him at a time in our life where we needed something new. We needed another mentor. We needed to raise the bar. We needed to lift it. We needed a jolt. And we came across Dan Pena, and he's certainly done that.
For those who don't know, Dan, how would you bring him to life?
He is an old school US Army boot camp. He will tell you everything you don't want to hear. He will he'll drag you kicking, screaming. He'll knock every excuse that you've got in your mind. He'll just completely transform the bullshit that you've got going on, every lazy bit that you've got going in your head, everything that you want to be true but isn't. He will lay it out to you in black and white, and it is what it is. And I've yet to know him to be wrong. Certainly about many things. I mean, he could speculate on things, but in terms of what he's done, there is no doubt about it. And his experience, the people that his mentors growing up, his success in business, and his style of getting you if you want it. It's not for the faint-hearted, but it's certainly my wife and I, my son, we've been on the course as well up at Guthrie Castle. Absolutely tremendous.
You speak about your wife quite a lot. That seems like one of the most. If
Yeah,
not the
better
most,
do that.
Yeah. How important is it when choosing a partner, or if you're choosing a partner, for them to be on this journey with you? How do you choose the right partner in entrepreneurship? Well,
choosing the right partner is the tricky one, but you need to choose the right partner. 100% that. And we get asked this question a lot. I've only ever worked with my wife. We met at work. It's highly unlikely we would be where we are if we hadn't met each other and embarked on this journey together, on our career together and what we do. You only have one life. You're going to be working with your partner. A lot of people say, I couldn't work with my partner, or we couldn't work with my other half. Why not? Why not? I mean, they're your life partner. what you know, what you're gonna have a work life, because I know you're saying work life balance. There is only one life, and absolutely, I believe that the people that can embark on the journey are the ones that have an unfair advantage over others that are, we might not be doing it as fast, but we have had the most fabulous growth 20 years that we've known each other. And our kids are part of that. We there's no, a holiday or, or a work-life balance means you don't like your work or your, or something. No, we only have one life. If we've got to work, we're working. Otherwise, we need to go to somewhere tomorrow because we want to, we will, depending on what's going on. It's absolutely, for me, it's essential. But if people don't want to do it, fine. We've got an unfair advantage. I see a lot of people that are, I could never work with my partner. And I think that closed mind mentality, this goes back to the start, drummed into us from when we were small. My dad probably couldn't work with my mum. You know what I mean? Or anything like that. And that wouldn't have even been in his consciousness. He was the man, she was the woman, that's it. And so, whereas, I'm saying, well, why wouldn't you work with her? And we have this life together. Maybe the wife should trade the man in then and go and get a new man. You know what I mean? If that's the closed-mindedness of it. But for us, 100%, having the right partner can take you to the moon, can take you to the stars. You got the wrong partner, very, very difficult. Very difficult.
What do you admire most about Leanne?
She's a hard-working, her integrity. She what you see is what you get. She allows, we're not competing against each other. It's not like, the woman's got to be in charge or the man's got to be in charge. And the position is I'm doing what I'm doing, and she will absolutely support that. And I am the man that's making those decisions, or the person that's making those decisions. She is my greatest supporter, and me likewise with her, but also my greatest critic. When things are not going right, and that can be sore at times. But she's the family's greatest supporter. She's all in. She absolutely has been part of everything that we've done together since we met, and we just love doing what we're doing together. We just love it. We love our life.
I love that, Graeme. What are your favourite or most consequential entrepreneurial habits?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
For example, what are the kind of highest leverage habits that you have as part of your everyday that move your entrepreneurialism, move your business, move your financial success, move your holistic success forward?
Well, I think it's a difficult just one to isolate. We have a great team, and I'm going to go back to team here. We're always evolving. We're always looking to improve as our businesses grow, and different countries. You're working with different people, different advisors, I just love learning. So provided we're forever learning and our team are learning alongside us, and our kids, are part coming into the business now as they're getting older, the evolution of learning. And that was the one commitment I made when I read that Rich Dad Poor Dad book. And never again am I going to stop learning about finances or anything, because it moves and evolves. What was good back in the day is not necessarily what's great now. It moves. So we've got, but that's served us well, because some people are one-trick ponies. They believe that that's the way, that's how it's always been done, or that's how it was. Far easier, better, quicker ways now. So we love learning, and love learning with the team and our advisors.
I love it. I love that you bring your family, your children on that journey with you. And I know your boy has joined the business, and he's going to, or has had, a very different upbringing to you.
Yeah.
More privileges, more security, more safety.
Yes.
How do you instill the same habits, the same mindset, the same hunger in him as you did when you didn't have anything?
I don't know how you do that, and I don't know how that. I only know how I was brought up. He'll know how he was brought up. But what he does is, in terms of the grounding, he knows where we've came from, and clearly he's had a different life to me, and that's deliberate, by the way. I wanted him. The whole point of us doing what we do is so he can have a different life. And remember, And when it's the irony in this as well is, I remember when my dad, had a better life than my gran and granddad, and I had a better life than my dad. That's just the evolution in how things are. How then the worry is, how are they going to turn out? Are they going to be spoilt brats? Are rich kids? Are they going to have the same hunger and all that? The reality is, I was on a milk round at 13, working at McDonald's at 50. You don't even get that now. Certainly not in Dubai. You don't get like holiday jobs. You don't even get that now. So, and again, you're wanting them to have the work ethic, where you're going, it never done me any harm. I was working hard up at 4 a.m. You don't get it. But that's evolution. So what we wanted to do with them is, they have been around us and been involved everywhere we go. When we used to go to the Kiyosaki seminars, we'd take them with us. We had to. We don't want to take them with us. We take them. So they've been around us, seeing what we've been doing and listening and learning and seeing how, the tough times, the good times, all of that stuff. But being real and them seeing for sure and saying you need to work for your money. It's up to you. This is an understanding the concept of financial education. We've given them that since a young age. The rest really is up to them. We can only show them the way that we believe, but ultimately Mitchell and Blair, Mitchell's got to be himself, and me, but I think we've got that. You never know with your kids, but I think we've got that. He wants to be better than me. He wants to take it to the next level. Leanne and I are born old farts when we talk on podcasts. He says, so he wants the new stuff. He wants to talk about the new sort of, influencer stuff. Now that's not us, but that's his. So, but he grasps and he understands the financial aspect of it that we didn't have. He was good at school, decent, but always wanted to run and have his own businesses and run his own business and take it to the next level. And that's all. I don't know what more you can do as a parent, other than try and set the way that we think's right. But, maybe my dad thought his way was right. I don't know.
Graeme, what's the end goal? What's it all for?
There is no end goal in this for me. There's no like a retirement plan. We're going to get to a certain number or value or anything. There's no end goal. The most important thing for me is that we enjoy our life and we enjoy our time. Time is the most precious commodity. For me, 50 this year, we're getting older, our businesses are growing and developing. And time, we didn't used to value our time so much when you're younger. You don't. Starting out, you would do everything yourself. DIY, do it yourself. The worst 3 words or worst three letters in an entrepreneur's dictionary is do it yourself, because that means time. Even if you're good at it, it keeps you small. So, everybody want to do, don't worry about it. I'll do this. I'll save myself a tenner, or I'll save me. No, if you're going to grow your businesses, you've got to learn to work with people, leverage and earn enough money to get that. And but as I've got older, time is the most important thing. So we want to continue doing and keep growing our businesses. We're internationally working with great partners, great people, traveling the world, taking on new challenges. We'll always be buying businesses and selling businesses. And, we'll get to number one to get to $1 billion within the next 5 years in terms of value. That's a massive jump for us. That's huge. Again, going back 20 years ago, I wouldn't believe that I would even say that word. I remember I asked my dad, will ever in my lifetime will we make $1 million? I remember that. No, son, you'll never make $1 million. That was done. All right, okay. Well, even in your whole life, you'll never make $1 million. Now we're looking at, values of $1 billion through working internationally, and that's a massive step up again. So we just keep setting higher challenges, looking after our time. We love traveling the world. We like challenges, personal challenges. We like the ability to travel, spend time with our kids, go and see our family when we want. We've got a great life. So I don't know. There's not anything else I particularly, stay healthy, and keep enjoying doing what we're doing.
Are there any components of your heritage that you hold on to from Dundee? Any working class traits? Any, don't know, beans on toast, for example, or like,
Well,
are there any like little treats that you still hold on to?
Listen, I love a Nichols mince pie. That's it. And so when I go back, I normally have a mince pie or a macaroni pie. That's it.
What was it like going back to Dundee today? Like, do you pop into any of the local bakers or the
Well, I
old
do,
shops?
that's it,
Yeah?
but you know, Nichols is a bakery. I meant to go through this morning actually, but we were away too sharp. Listen, I like it. I like going back and catching up. I like going back, but honestly, only for a short while.
Why is that?
Because the world's it's a big place. It's great there, great catching up with folk, but ultimately, it's like going back in time, if I'm being honest. You know, because everybody's still set in that exact same way. And I don't think spending too long in that environment, which is sad, but it's the truth. You know, the world's an abundant, beautiful, exciting, challenging place that when you're there, you struggle to see it. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad that I see people still in the same spot when they can do something about it. But in actual fact, it's easier just not to. You know, it was dark at 2:30 the other day and didn't get lighty until I think 9 this morning. And I said to a mate of mine, wow, he says, you just what it is. Man, no, I know that's what it is here, and I get it, but hold on, it's kind of that environment, but that's the mindset, isn't it? For a lot of people, it just is.
Comfortability crisis, really.
Well, it's not even it's comfortability. They don't really know anything else.
Yep.
It just is. Just what you do.
I talk a lot about the term social mobility, and in the textbooks it's defined as the movement of people between social class or social strata. But I think what pure social mobility is the amount of ease or friction between an individual and their awareness, therefore access to opportunity. Without awareness of opportunity, there is no access.
Yeah.
And I think some of these people,
Yeah.
my family, my friends, including myself at times, weren't aware that life could be better.
Yes.
And didn't know the roadmap to get there. And this podcast serves as a platform to try and bridge that gap. They've heard your story. They might go take a risk and do something nomadic and new and inventive and innovative. And I really hope they do. I hope they try and shake up or change their life. It doesn't have to be the best. It just needs to be better. And there's endless possibilities and people out there to help you do that. So, Graeme, thank you for coming on the show. I want to ask one last question. What are your hopes for the future of Scottish entrepreneurship? We used to have John Logie Baird, Alexander Fleming, Alexander Graham Bell, these pioneers of modern technologies and biotechnologies. We don't really have that in the same way that we used to. What's your hopes?
Well, disappointingly, I mean, how many years ago was that? You know, that's the big problem. This is not a new phenomenon, you know, where you know, it's we aren't seeing, you know, the phenomenal brains that are developed in this country. And you got to ask the question why. And that's been going for hundreds of years potentially. You know, you go back to Carnegie and all these people that went, you know, and embarked and effectively became the richest man in the world over in the US and all that stuff. You had to leave. You had to leave, you know, Dunfermline based originally. He had to leave. A lot of the brain drain. We have to stop the brain drain. And that is you know, entrepreneurs in this country are almost, or successful entrepreneurs are almost vilified, and that has to change. That has to stop because people in the world that we live in now can, in a heartbeat, move elsewhere and do business elsewhere and base themselves in far more pro-business jurisdictions than what's currently being going on. And the thing is don't take my word for it. When was the last time, you know, we seen any of that's been going on long before me, until still to this day, you know, people are moving. I hear people saying, they'll never move and this and that. I bump into people in Dubai, genuinely, business people in Dubai from Scotland that live in Dubai that they've never told anybody they've moved already. And they've moved years ago. You know, the brain drain, and it is so anti everything that we were. And until they change that, and that needs massive change. And it's changeable, but it needs to start at some point. Somebody's got to do it. It has to happen.
And it expands beyond just entrepreneurship and business. It's also arts, comedy, Like, we think about James McAvoy,
Sure.
how big he is in the US, Lewis Capaldi. We export our greatness.
Yes.
And we don't retain any of it.
No. No.
Graeme, this has been so much fun. Thank you for taking the trip from Dundee and Dubai to be here today.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.